So let's have a look at the Neighbourhub application. Neighbourhub is designed to work on any application anywhere. You can look at it through your usual browser, or you can look at this through an iPad. When you first come into Neighbourhub, you're shown the executive cockpit view, which gives you a quick overview of how your housing organisation is performing. Central to Neighbourhub is the idea of surplus per property. This is the amount of money generated by each property across your housing stock. And it generally is a very simple margin calculation looking at income, usually from rent, take away any of the key costs from arrears, voids, repairs, etc. With an apportionment for management costs which are put against each property. And really it gives a really good indication to everyone across the organisation the focus of how commercially well the housing stock is doing and how much therefore can be pushed back into the business for improving the social aims of the housing organisation. So we can see here in our demo that the housing organisation have got a relatively healthy surplus per property, or each property generating an average of £3,390.51. And this is a real good gauge of how the organisation is performing. The key risks to surplus per property are shown in the 4 quadrants around the side of the cockpit. We have turnover, which risks surplus. We have cost of repairs, a big impact on surplus. The number of voids, properties needing to be relet, and from that also the number of arrears. And each of the quadrants shows you the trend over the last 3 months in the blue at the top. It also shows you a 12-month running trend, which can give you an idea of how stable or variable and also which direction these risks are heading. Are they increasing or are they waning? It also tells us which are the best and which are the worst performing neighbourhoods for each of these risk areas. The idea being is an executive can quickly understand performance, where area is doing well and where area needs to be focused on. The dashboard's totally interactive, so we can get more information. We can click behind annual surplus per property and we can show year on year how we're doing as a company per property and the change on year. So actually how much better are we improving or worsening over years. And also gives you the top neighbourhoods and the areas that need most improvement. So that gives you a very quick answering summary of the surplus and your performance. Again, you can go to any of these quadrants and you can have a look to see exactly the worst neighbourhoods and how exactly Canalside, for instance, is performing compared to other neighbourhoods in the rankings for poor repairs per property. You can look at the best improvers over time. All of this is key information for you out to answer the question is, how are we doing? Where are we doing well? And where do we need to improve? And similarly, any of these quadrants can be clicked to provide that very quick 2-minute insight. And this cockpit is just really, as I say, a quick overview. For the more operational day-to-day running of the organisation, we need to jump into the Neighbourhub dashboard, which is the more traditional view and is designed to provide that next level of detail information about neighbourhood performance. So we now come into this dashboard view, and what it does is basically shows some tabs showing that, again, linking to that cockpit, the overall performance of the organisation with a little bit more information. So first of all, we have the neighbourhood league table where we can very easily rank all of our organisations by their performance in any of those key risk areas. We can also provide a quick summary for any area we're particularly interested in. So if I was the housing manager or part of the housing management team for the Acorn neighbourhood, I can compare how our neighbourhood compares to the company average. We can have a little look at that surplus per property in a little bit more in more detail. So if we have a look at Acorn, we can quickly see that surplus per property we're doing above average for the organisation. We can also then look at another area like Acorn, and you can see very quickly that Acorn is doing relatively poorly compared to the average. So we can quickly review and start targeting which neighbourhoods are doing well and which neighbourhoods are doing poorly. You can also focus in just on certain areas of the business. You can look at particular years. By default, it's set to the last financial year, but you can select other years. Usually it's around 3 years of archive, but that can increase year on year for every year that Neighbourhub is implemented into your organisations. You can select regions. If you want to just focus, if you're a regional manager, you can just look at how your region is doing and all the neighbourhoods within it and look at the average against the region. And you can also look by tenure type, so looking at all the different tenure availabilities, so you can see if there's any patterns just to do with tenure types, especially useful at the moment with impacts of universal credits and benefits changes, etc. Okay. Another great feature that we've brought into version 2.3, the latest version, is the ability to actually map the actual properties and how they're doing. Here's looking at the arrears information for Birkenhead Central. And basically it shows year on year over the last 2 years how Birkenhead Central arrears is doing. And this is really handy at showing us any peaks and troughs throughout the year. Also provides a summary of all the key arrears information for Birkenhead Central. But what we can do also is we can have a look at arrears in a little bit more of a graphical mapping summary. So we just click on the map for Birkenhead Central, and this quickly jumps us down to a detailed summary of all the properties in Birkenhead Central, and then shows us for each of the properties where they are and what their current tenant arrear situation is. And this is great in providing insight into, is there a geographical element to issues in the area. Okay. Property turnover, again, very similar, shows you that chart over time. We can look at all neighbourhoods or we can look at particular ones. Void loss. Again, it's extremely responsive and you can provide that summary information on any of your neighbourhoods within seconds to compare and contrast how each is doing against all neighbourhoods. Repair costs is where many of our clients have driven out the best savings using this tool because repair costs usually are very, very high. Where they are very, very high, they're quite hard to identify where the problem is. Is it a geographical issue? Is it a contract team issue? Is it a repair type issue? Are we over servicing certain clients? And we can quickly start drilling into repair costs on a day-to-day basis. So if we have a look at Acorn, what we can do is we can go down to the next level of granularity. The dashboard summarises for the whole neighbourhood, but we can really now go and have a look at performance right the way down to house by house, street by street level. So here we are at the detailed analytics that is provided by the neighbourhood tool. So we've jumped from the cockpit through to the dashboard, now to the actual detail, and we're looking at our neighbourhood. We selected Acorn as all of the repairs that have occurred in the year to date. So we show repair raise date, and they're all sorted by the cost of repairs, and they identify if there are block repairs, etc. We can do an awful lot more analytics on this. We can go in and change. We can just say we'd like to focus on a particular region, or we can look at certain repair types or repair priorities. So it really is a great tool for those neighbourhood teams and repairs officers really trying to understand is if Neighbourhub repairs figure has increased, what type of repairs are they? Is it a particular geographical area, etc.? And we can get to that information. What we can see here is 22 Ensdale Lane has got the highest. It's a void repair costs. So we can do more analytics across other areas of the neighbourhood tool to get more information about 225 Ensdale Lane if we require. So back up into the dashboard, we have the repair volumes, which after the repair costs breaks out all the information by responsive by repairs type and the volume of repairs. So is repair costs an issue of just pure volume of repairs, or is it a cost of repairs issue? Finally, then we have the economic activity type, and this basically shows you for Acorn. We can then go and look at the socioeconomic makeup of the tenants within the neighbourhood we've identified. So we've got a lot of partial HB tenants. We find this an area of growing concern for a lot of our clients. Zero contract hours, etc., means there's an awful lot of volatility, which usually shows itself in high arrears or high property void rates and turnover. But let's have a look at that residence for the void then of Acorn, which we're just looking at in repairs. So again, we can go into the detailed report and we can quickly look for our property. And there we have it, 2225 Ensdale, and we can quickly see that this tenant has moved in. So this is a relatively new tenant now we have in there, 27th of the 7th, so this will be the new tenant after the void. And they are in full income of housing benefits, not partial. So that'll be interesting. We could also group on just looking at the people with partial incomes, etc. What is important to know, which is important, is no private tenant information is brought into neighbourhoods. The most we provide is the tenant reference number. So for data protection, etc., no information is brought through regarding actual individuals, just pure housing stock information. Okay, so that's provided you hopefully with a great overview of the power of Neighbourhub. From the Neighbourhub cockpit to provide those execs in your organisation with a wonderful, great summary, whether it's on an iPad or their laptop or in a desktop, of exactly how the organisation is doing, understanding exactly where they need to focus on areas of concern and drive out action plans, and also where to learn lessons from great improvers in the organisation. Then the ability to go and have a look at a more detailed operational summary month by month, can understand exactly how the organisation is doing, understand trends and identify months and exactly where to take action and to be able to monitor impact. And then being able to map information, get that geographical overview, and also the ability to jump into detailed reports to understand that really granular information where true action needs to be derived. So that's Neighbourhub. Thanks for your time and thanks for watching.